It's been a minute. My bad. Hello, everybody. What's going on? I'm trying to make sure that everything is just set up well, because I haven't done this in a minute. Well, it's been about a month since I put out an episode. Actually, a little bit longer than that, I think. The last episode I did was a solo episode, and so is this one. And we'll find out why here in a minute. But how's it going, everybody? Good to be back. Happy New Year. This episode will come out in the new year, I think the 2nd probably. So Happy New Year, everybody. I hope your holidays went well. We're just going to do kind of like a short episode, I guess, just to recap the year and talk about a few things and just catch up for a minute and talk about the coming year. You're probably wondering, well, for my few listeners out there, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I haven't put out an episode the past month or so because I've been in, what was it, like November 24th, I went home to see family for a little while. And then while I was there, I did put out the one episode, like the solo Q&A thing. And then the day after, or the day that episode released, my dad went into the hospital with some medical issues. He had a heart attack, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because we're probably going to, I'd like to talk to him on here about that at some point. But I spent a long time just helping them out and being with family, and just took a step back from podcast and didn't want to have to worry about episodes and all that kind of stuff. But it was quite the journey. He was in the hospital for a few weeks. Part of it was pretty dicey, but like everything went well. He's home recovering now, thankfully. And things went well. But it was quite the experience, and I would really like to record an episode with him and my mom and probably my sister or something like that, just to kind of hear everybody's experience and talk about it, if he's comfortable with it. But yeah, that's where I've been the past month or so. Well, actually, I got back here to Ohio a few weeks ago, and then I jumped right back into work and was really busy. And then this past week, I've been dealing with the flu, so I was down and out with that. That's why I sound a little nasally, if you've noticed that. But yeah, been kind of going through it. It's been a busy end of the year. So anyway, I am glad to be back here and talking to you guys. And I'm kind of excited for this episode because we're just going to recap kind of 2025 and the comedy season that we had, and just talk about some stuff there. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else to recap, or if there's anything else this past month to talk about. I did hit up a bunch of open mics and stuff in Ohio, which was cool. And met a lot of good comics there. I'll kind of talk through that here in a minute. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been a busy month. It's kind of starting to slow down and even out a little bit. And I'm thankful for that. I was thankful that I was able to set up and do this today. Because I'm recording this on New Year's Eve, so it's kind of a busy day. Had a bunch of training I needed to finish up for the year today. And then I've got obviously some plans tonight and a show I'm going to tonight. Also, I'm sorry if this sounds choppy. I didn't really write out a script or plan super well for this. I just figured I'd kind of verbally vomit everything that's been going on at you and hope for the best. So anyway, this past year, I guess we'll kind of get into the review part. This past year was incredible for comedy for me. I'm very, very thankful. At the end of 2024, I shout out to Kay Gutos. She's been on the pod before. I had heard her talk about writing down your goals as a comedian, and sorry, my phone. She talked about writing down her goals and just writing out things she wanted to accomplish throughout the year, and I thought that was a really good idea. Um, and just from other sources, I've heard that your goals are much more likely to happen if you actually write them down and kind of formulate a plan. So I did. Um, at the end of 2024, I went on a road trip. Um, this was kind of more when I was really new. And again, I'm still new into comedy, but I was really, really new here into comedy, and I went on a road trip. I flew out to Austin, Texas, and kind of did the comedy scene out there for a week or so. Coincidentally, I also got really sick around that time, probably with the same thing. I remember flying out there and I got like a really bad fever. Actually, it was the day before I flew out, or the night before I flew out. Um, I got like a really bad fever and got really sick, but I didn't want to miss the trip, so I just powered through it. And I remember being miserable on the plane and just not feeling well. And then the first day that I was in Austin, I just slept the whole day. So that kind of sucked, but I ended up having a really good trip. And while I was out there, I went to Comedy Mothership and bought a little journal because I thought it was really cool. It was handmade by someone that lives out in Austin. I don't remember the source, but I bought this and with the idea that I was going to write just bits in it, but it's kind of small for writing bits. But I found that it was perfect for writing out like my goals and just keeping track of like things I want to accomplish. So I did that at the end of last year, and here's some of the goals that I had. I wrote down like 1 year goals, 5 year goals, and then 10 year goals. So I forget to share this with you. So my first year goal was write and refine a clean 20 minutes. Um, I'm getting there. I'm still far off though. Uh, I've got well over 20 minutes of material, but just because you have over 20 minutes of material doesn't mean you have a 20-minute set. Um, and that's something I've definitely learned. I did one of the first shows I did in 2025. It was like my first paid gig I've ever done. I was really excited about it. It was like a 20-minute set for a fire department banquet. Which and it ended up being fun and really fine, and they knew that I was new, but I had no business trying to do 20 minutes just because I didn't have a set worked out. Um, I was dumping around material, and it just wasn't a super smooth delivery. But it was still really fun. But if you're a comic, uh, having a good 20-minute set is a really good goal to have. It's good to have like a good 5 minute set, a really like a good 10-minute set, even a 15-minute set, and then a 20-minute set, especially when you're new, because you can just plug into different shows no matter what their needs are and meet the time requirements. But 20 minutes is hard to get like a solid 20 minutes of just constant laughs. Um, so I've done quite a few 20-minute spots now, and I'm still working on polishing them. I wouldn't say I'm great at it by any means, but I'm getting there. And I guess we'll talk about that here when we talk about some shows here in a minute. But that was my first goal I wrote down. I wanted to complete at least 50 open mics for 2025. I wanted to book at least one show or be booked on someone's show. Um, oh no, I meant that as start booking my own shows. I wanted to post 10 stand-up videos online or clips. I wanted to do one podcast, or like I wanted to be on someone's podcast episode or like do some kind of recording thing like that. I wanted to start doing stand-up in Lake George, and I wanted to build relationships with local businesses in hopes that they would let me do stand-up. I, for the most part, have hit all these goals. Uh, Again, the 20 minutes I'm working on, I'm still trying to polish that up. I've got well over 20 minutes of material, but it's not like I could just tell it all and it would be a polished set. Nor, and like, not all the material I have is stuff that I'm still wanting to tell, or like that is gets the laughs that I'm wanting to get. So, um, but yeah. As far as open mics, I did just tally all that up. I did a total of 76 open mics this year, um, which is quite a bit, um, especially considering some of the factors I have to face. Like where I'm at in particular is about an hour away. The closest one is about 25 minutes, but most of them are about an hour away to all the open mics in this area, with a lot of them being further. So like I'll go up to Vermont every once in a while. I haven't done that in a few months, but like towards the beginning of 2025, I went up there a lot, and that's a 2-hour drive just to get up there, and then a 2-hour drive back. Or like I go to a lot of mics in Albany when I can, and that's a 1-hour drive to get down there. So it's a big time commitment to get to these places. A decent amount of these mics too happened while I was traveling. So like I would go out to Buffalo on my way home to see family. I would stop there and hit up a few mics. Or in Ohio, I hit up quite a few mics there. So there was a lot of traveling involved and a lot of time committed to doing that. And 76 isn't a lot compared to what other people hit. But for me, I'm very pleased with that number. I definitely want to do at least that next year, hopefully more. Oh, my camera just cut off. I don't know why. Let's try to turn this on again. Okay. Sorry for that glitch if you're watching on video, but my camera just cut off, so we'll figure that out. Take a drink. Okay. Anywho, 76 mics was a good number for me. I really wanted to hit 50 at least, which equaled out to about a mic a week, which was pretty good. And yeah, I'm happy with that. I, of course, want to get as much stage time as I possibly can, which means hitting as many open mics as I possibly can. And yeah, I definitely want to keep doing that, and next year hopefully hit some more. I booked at least one show. I did 4 of my own shows this year, which was not easy. That is quite a feat. I had not produced shows until this past year, and it was not that easy, especially the shows that I produced just came with some added challenges. So the first show I did was at the Firehouse that I'm a part of, Firehouse Comedy Night. That was pretty fun. It was a Thursday night over the summer, which was kind of a gamble because we didn't know exactly what kind of turnout we would have. I was pretty eager in that I thought we were just going to sell out the house and like fill up the room, and it was going to be like standing room only kind of thing. Was not the case. I think we had like 46 people in attendance, which is really good. I'm pleased with that number. And it overall was a really good show. I had Ray Harrington headline that. Craig Nessler and Patrick Smith were on that show as well. And it was a really good show. I really enjoyed it. Learned a lot about just going through and setting up and producing and setting up ticket sales and all that good stuff. It was quite the process to go through, and learned a lot on that show. Would definitely do it again, and probably going to do it again this coming year. But that was the first show I did, and that was in June, I think. The second show I did was the family comedy night in Shepherd's Park in Lake George. Whew. That was an undertaking. I did not realize how much work that show was going to be. That was by far the hardest show I had to produce. But I produced. There was a lot of like hoops I had to jump through for that, because it was on a village-owned property. I had to rent out that space. I ended up applying for what's called occupancy tax, was like certain tax money that's set aside for hosting events like that. And I had to go through a process to do that so that I can get reimbursed for some of the money that I put into the show. Um, I was also trying to, I couldn't charge or sell tickets for the show because it was an outdoor public space, and there was no way to regulate that. Um, but I needed some way to recoup money because I had to pay for the comics to come in. I had to pay for the advertising, uh, for certain supplies for the show, all that good stuff. So, and for the rental fee. So I had to, my thought was that when I rent out the park, they often do like vendor sales in the park. So I was going to do that during the day and then the show at night. And what I made from the vendors' rental fees would be put towards recouping what I invested in the show. Um, that was a lot of work. It was a ton of work because I had to start applying I had to reserve the space in like January of 2025. I had to attend meetings in February to make sure I was approved for occupancy tax so I can get reimbursed for some of the money. I had to start reaching out in February to vendors to see if anybody was interested for the dates that I had. I had to coordinate. I think I reached out to probably like 40 or 60 vendors. Um, in total, at the end, I think I only had like 6 that signed up, which is understandable. I didn't realize how much work it was for them to come up and set up for just a day event. So like a lot of them didn't want to do it for just a day. They wanted like the whole weekend so they can really make money and kind of capitalize on them coming up here, which is totally understandable. I just didn't know that at the time. Um, but I had to work through all that. I had to get insurance for the venue. I had to, what did I have to do? I had to book the comics. I had to set up the show. I had to set up advertising for the show. I had to hang up flyers. I had to do a lot of coordination work with the vendors that did come in. It was just a lot of work. It was kind of overwhelming. Um, However, it was a really fun show. It was pretty interesting because if you know anything about Lake George, you know that Shepherd's Park, the amphitheater there, burned down at the beginning of last year. So we were kind of just set up on the footprint where the amphitheater used to be on the cement pad there. And we had a tent over us, and that was pretty much it. So I had to bring my own sound equipment and set that up. Um, but Kate Gutos, Cody Montaigne, and Vinny Mark were on that show, and I hosted, and it went well. It was really fun. It was a family show, so we had a whole variety of people there, um, anywhere from young kids to older couples were there, and I think I counted by the time that Vinny went up, there was about 250 people in the crowd. And probably more than that. There was a lot of people that were in and out that were just walking by that would stop and watch for a little bit and then leave, or some people that had no idea the show was even going on that just heard it and came over and sat and watched. But it was really fun. We got really good feedback. The town or the village would like us to do it again next year or 2026. I'm just waiting to hear. I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens with the rebuild of the amphitheater that they're working on right now. So hopefully we'll do it again, but we'll see. All right. But yeah, that was the second show I did. The third show was the Indian Lake Theater show, which was really fun. I got a connection to the Indian Lake Theater in New York through my boss, who lives up that way and has some family that works at the theater. But I reached out to them and I asked if they would be interested in doing a comedy show. And I think I reached out to them at the beginning of towards the beginning of the year, and they got back pretty quickly and decided to do a comedy show in September during their annual Moose Festival. And that was really fun. They were amazing to work with. The venue was awesome. The layout was really cool. It was like a really cool place to do comedy. They had a great sound system. They had a really good concession area, like clean facilities. The seating was nice. The lighting was great. They even had like a little kind of green room area for the comics. Um, and that was lovely. I absolutely love that show. I totally want to work with them again. Um, and it was super nice, like going from having to do everything by myself to going into a venue that was already set up and that had people there to help you. That was incredible. And I definitely want to do more stuff like that this coming year. But that was a great show. We had a really good turnout for that. And Kay Gutos was also on that show. And Juan Pantaleon came on that show. Shout out to Juan. He stepped in last minute to backfill for another comic that couldn't make it. And then Dan Gurin headlined that show and crushed. He did so good. That was the first like really like full set I watched of Dan. And Juan and I were in the back of that show just laughing our ass off. He was so good. But yeah, that was the third show. And then the fourth show was the Halloween comedy night that we did in Glens Falls at the Charles R. Wood Theater. That was also a really fun show. I learned a lot from that show in particular, just in how I hosted and set things up. And it was kind of a unique show in that it was themed, like pretty heavily, like into the Halloween theme because it was on Halloween. And I just wanted a show where people could come and like, it's just different than like traditional go out and get candy. Like just come, you could come here, watch comedy, drink. I had candy for you to eat if you wanted it, and hopefully we can make you laugh. But that was a really good show. There was a lot of like last minute changes I had to make and kind of go through. I also had to get insurance for that show. I had to do a lot of advertising for that show, and yeah, just learned a lot. It was a really fun show. But all the shows that I did were pretty like I guess high quality, like pretty good quality. Like I don't know. I just kind of had a goal of mine to like every show that I do, I wanted to be at a venue that was really conducive for comedy, um, and delivered in a way that was, I guess, just really like good quality. So like every show I did, I like booked. Like my first goal was like to book a headliner, and if you guys watched episode 1 of this podcast, you'll remember Vinny Mark talking about um, kind of his opinions on some shows, and he had shared that like some shows don't have like good headliners or don't book like actual headliners or seasoned comics, and that kind of ruins the taste of comedy for some people. And I can definitely understand that. I've been at shows, I've been in shows that well, I don't know that I've been in shows that have lagged. I've been at shows that have just lagged experience, I guess, or like it was missing something and it was missing an experienced comic. So I guess that's why I really like took the time to like make sure I had really good comics that were headlining these shows. And that could really close out the show well, and that I've seen and vetted myself. So I made sure all that happened with these shows. All the venues that were like specifically chosen or like I specifically reached out to because I knew they would be really good for comedy, and just allow us to do like some pretty cool stuff. So yeah, it was only 4 shows, but it was a lot of work. It was quite a bit. Hats off to the people that produce shows regularly because that's a lot of work. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into those things. So shout out to you guys. I'm excited to produce more shows this coming year. I just don't know exactly what that'll look like yet, but we'll get there. Okay. Post 10 stand-up videos online. I tallied it up, and I posted 23 stand-up videos online, which I was hoping to be more than that. Towards the beginning of the year, especially, I was posting like a bunch of clips, and now that I look back, I kind of wish I didn't do that as much because not that I was like burning my material or like I can't tell these jokes anymore because they're posted online. No, um, I don't have a huge following. Like, no, people at shows are not hearing my jokes online and like being sad that they've heard them already. Um, I only wish I didn't post videos as quickly because a lot of the jokes I did post before I have new tags for, or like I've kind of changed how I deliver them, or maybe they're a little more polished. So, um, yeah. By the way, I should say this. I don't want any of this to sound like I know everything about comedy or that I know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to be transparent in what I've learned. One, so that I can go back and watch this and kind of reflect years from now. But um, yeah, I just like the idea of being transparent and kind of sharing honestly about things that I've learned and done or things that I would do differently. So anyway, I don't know that I would post some of the videos that I've posted as far as like clips on Instagram and stuff like that. I wish I would have saved some of them until later. Um, but that's kind of what I'm doing now. I haven't posted a specific stand-up clip or like stand-up clips in a while just because I'm trying to save that material for later down the road, I guess. Okay. Do one podcast. That was one of my goals. I wanted to be like on somebody's podcast. That kind of happened. I did the Albany Comedy Corner with Juan. I think that was like in August or something like that, or maybe September. I don't remember when exactly, but went down to Troy to do that. That was really fun. I really wanted to do something like that just so I can learn and kind of see what the experience was like doing a podcast, so that when I started to do my own, it would be a little bit easier. I think that was after I started doing my own though, so it was still really fun and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Start stand up in Lake George, start doing stand up here. I did that. I did the family show here. Um, and then build relationships with local businesses. I'm working on that still. I've put a few feelers out to some local spots to try to do stand up at. A lot of them are just hesitant to do it for whatever reason. So just try to be persistent and I'll stay on them to see what I can do. But anyway, that was my like first year goals, or my 2025 goals. I've surpassed a lot of those. Even gone into my 5-year goals a little bit. My 5-year goals at the time included start a podcast. Done did that. Host a regular show. I'll talk about that here in a minute. Help grow the comedy scene in Lake George. That's happening. And then be traveling regularly. That's something I wanted to have happen within 5 years. Start a podcast. Like I said, already did that. You're listening to it. Thank you for listening. You should like and subscribe. Host a regular show. I thought it would be a good idea to like have like a regular venue I'm doing regular shows at. And I would like to do that. I think with some of the like local theaters I've been working with, I think we're going to try to do regular stuff. Again, it is a lot of work. I really enjoy being booked on other people's shows, so I could just show up and do comedy. But yeah, I still do want to do regular stuff. And be traveling regularly. That I just mean like I want to be like within 5 years, or I guess 4 years now, I really want to be like involved in other scenes other than just like the Albany area. Like I'd like to be traveling around New York more, doing comedy, traveling to Ohio more to do comedy, stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going to take a quick break to blow my nose. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. And I just spilled coffee on myself. So, anyway, yeah, to go over the kind of the tallies again, I did 76 open mics throughout 2025. I was on 20 different shows, or booked on 20 different shows, and then I produced 4 shows. And then I started a podcast in 2025, I put out 10 episodes and then posted 23 comedy clips on YouTube. And that was a lot of my goals for the year, was just to hit certain metrics and put out certain numbers of those. I definitely surpassed all those, which I'm very thankful for. Looking at 2026, I'm definitely going to write down more goals and have specific things I want to hit. But I also think I'm going to change a lot of things, maybe not a lot of things, but change certain things in my work and personal life so that I can hit these goals and invest in these things a little bit more. For example, the podcast, I really want to pour into this and just keep this going. One, because I really love doing it. I think it's really fun interviewing people and just getting to have conversations and talk. I also love hosting people at my house and just letting them come over, feel comfortable to talk, and just creating that kind of atmosphere is really fun. So I want to keep doing that, and I want to invest more time into it, and just keep investing in this creative outlet, I guess. So I want 2026 to reflect that, which means for work, I need to not work as much. I worked like a dog, especially all of 2025. I worked a bunch. I worked for 4 different EMS agencies. Kind of unintentionally, I was I had my full-time job, and then I had 2 part-time gigs, and then one opportunity opened up that I really didn't want to pass on, and there's a lot of benefits to working at this place. But it is a lot of time commitments, and I truly love everywhere that I work. I really do. But I just need to be good about managing my time so that I can be on shows, I can record podcasts, I can go to open mics, and things like that. Which means I'm starting to keep a lot more of my weekends open for opportunities, like getting booked on last-minute shows. Like the show I'm on tonight, Mike Burnett reached out. Shout out to Mike. I want you to be on the podcast this coming year for sure. He reached out yesterday and asked if I wanted to do a set on it, and I said absolutely. And thankfully I had the night free, or the time free, so I could do it. But there's been a few, 2 weekends ago, I had to say no to doing a show at the local Funny Bone because I was already working, and I don't like that. Obviously, if I'm working, I want to have a commitment to my job and my work, and again, I love what I do. I don't want to mess that up or jeopardize that, but if I can, I'd like to leave my weekends free so that I can do comedy and then work during the week or things like that. So that's something I really want to do for 2026, is just be mindful of how I'm scheduling myself. There's a few things that I'm learning that I need to say no to, and probably things that I'll take step backs from in 2026, just so I can afford more time for comedy and doing things that I really enjoy. So yeah, we'll see. I haven't really written down these goals yet. I think at least 50 mics again. I'll probably bump that up to 75. I'll probably have a certain amount of podcast episodes I want to put out. Probably goals with a certain amount of shows I want to produce again. Things like that. But maybe I'll review that when I actually write those down, and we'll go over it on the podcast again at some point. We'll see. I'm up in the air about it. Yeah. I don't know what else to talk about. Maybe that's a good ending point for now. We've gone for about probably 30, 35 minutes. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up there because I do have to get ready for the show tonight. But I'm very excited for this coming year and what things are going to happen. And just shout out to everybody that's been along on the journey so far, and that everybody that's listening to these podcasts. Shout out to my family. Love you guys so much. You guys have been a huge support, and I appreciate that a lot. Shout out to my friends, other comics that have been on the show, just everybody that's a part of this. I'm very appreciative of it. Oh, I just remembered. I'm not done yet. I am appreciative of you guys, but another goal that I had that I forgot to talk about was social media stuff, was to double the followers that I had. Or my first goal was to hit 1,000 followers on each of the platforms, or on Instagram and TikTok. Like 1,000 followers on each, just because like prior to this year, I didn't put much effort into like growing them. And TikTok, I think I started the beginning of 2025, I think. Or no, it was the end of 2024. But I'm glad to say I've got 1,092 followers on TikTok, and then 1,155 followers on Instagram. That being said, I don't want that to be like something I'm like heavily focused on, but it is a goal of mine to like keep that consistently growing. So I think for my goal for 2026 is just to double those numbers. I don't know if that's doable or not. We'll see. I'll do another recap video like this at the end of the year and see what happens, but I'd like to double those followers. One, I think that just means that I'm consistently putting out material and consistently getting in front of people and kind of growing my brand or like image, I guess. I don't know. But that does open up doors for getting booked on more shows, for getting just more people to come to your shows, stuff like that. So I really want to keep growing those numbers and have that be kind of one of the metrics I'm looking at this coming year. But yeah, I think that's it for all the goals, unless I think of another one before I end this. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up there. But thank you guys for listening. Sorry this was kind of unplanned and not the most organized thing to listen to, I'm sure. But we're going to start getting more guests on, hopefully very soon, and releasing episodes again, hopefully every Friday, although I might change that day. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, thank you guys for listening and being part of the journey up to this point. I'm very excited again for what 2026 will bring, and I'm definitely optimistic as to what this next year will look like for comedy and for podcasting and all that good stuff. So thank you guys, and hope you have a great day.